pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, for the benefit of our transcriber, let's start through and let's start over there with our council member.
Good morning, Chair Simpson. Dan Allers.
Hi, Karen Woodson.
Barbara Hill.
Betty Simpson.
Beth Cherry. Becky Guidry.
And Allison Geeson.
Okay. Thank you. And we have everybody here, and I understand that Bruce will be joining us by phone.
Yes.
Okay, very good. We have a great contingency. Thank you. All right. At this time, let's take a look at the minutes. We just had our meeting on August 2nd. I believe everybody should have received their minutes for that. May I have a motion for approval of those August 2nd minutes?
I so move. Barbara Hill.
Barbara Hill, do I have a second?
I'll second. Karen
Karen?
Woodson.
I'm going to put you on speakerphone, okay?
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to our item 6, the review recommendations for the proposed fee schedule.
Public comment. It's fine.
Oh, yes. We do have public. That's great. We don't very often have it here at this time of day. But you're more than welcome to come forward. We'd like to hear from you. Okay, well, if not, you will have another opportunity. And we certainly invite you to join us. So thank you. Okay, well then let's go to our proposed fee schedule. This was kind of a special called meeting. And so at this time, I'll turn this over to Allison for a moment.
Actually, this was a meeting called by Board Cab, so you all should discuss. Bruce, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, do you want to start off the discussion for the fee schedule?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, could I maybe start it off?
Sure, go ahead. Karen.
Because I actually did call this meeting.
Yes.
So I just want to take a step back for a minute. You know, we got these fees, everybody saw huge increases, that type of thing in the fees. We went through this, we had Roger come in and talk to us. And I just want to take a step back and talk about what is Bay Oaks and what is the mission of Bay Oaks Rec Center. And my understanding, history, you know, this was actually, Bay Oaks was actually started by parents of school and built for the children and Little League games and all of that type of thing. It was not meant to be a profit center to fund lighting, to fund beach renourishment, as Roger was talking about. It's meant for the families. And I heard it loud and clear over this past week, how much families do depend on it for after-school programs. Their kids enjoy coming here. They have summer programs, all of that type of thing. And so I went back and I looked at these fees, and even though we agreed to them, I don't think we really looked at the big, I know I didn't. I'll just speak for myself. I did not look at the big picture. I did not look at the family participation and all of this. I don't mind hiking fees for non-residents that come in to use the facility. But I don't think it's right to do that for the families, and especially the families with children that use the after-school programs, that use the summer camps, all of those type of things. So I opened it up again because I don't, you know, I'm the one that's supposed to be representing at the council meeting on Monday, and I would not do that the way we have it right now. I would step away from that and say, I do not agree. I'm changing my vote, everything about it. But I just wanted to bring it up and open the discussion again.
Well, I, for one, appreciate your doing that. And I wondered, when I got the notice, I thought, well, why is this another meeting? And then I realized it had been 11 years since we had done anything. And, you know, we realized that it costs money to run the facility that we have, and we're very fortunate to have it. It's old. I think some of this started when we had a member that said, my goodness, we've got a building back there that was given to us 34 years ago. And yes, and it is old and we need to update it. And so let's get rid of that building. Well, that's where it all started. And I think a lot of you were, you know, became participants at that time. But I was not surprised when I started thinking about it that this meeting had been called. And I think it's, I'm so pleased that you decided that you would do that. And certainly appreciate all the input. And I imagine that you have had a lot of comments that maybe,
More than a lot.
yeah, that some of them you can share with us, because it is important for us to realize that this is a community building, and that's why we wanted it. And then when I saw something on something the other day, and it said, there's a chance we may not have that building. And I thought, oops, where'd this come from? And I agreed. It bothered me that we were just talking about beach renourishment. We need it, okay. That's one subject. We need lots of things on our island, and we're getting a lot of them. But this, for us to come in and ask for this kind of an increase was probably off. And again, I thank you for your input and probably the comments that you had to take. So,
Well, they were good comments. I mean, it was a lot of concern. I mean, they weren't radical comments at all. They were concerned. They were families, they were parents that really just didn't understand how we got to these numbers. And honestly, I mean, I don't think there was a rhyme or reason. There were numbers throughout, and then we kind of whittled it down from there. But I think we really have to look at, I mean, this is, in my mind, this has never been a profit center for the town. So if we go along with those lines, then,
Yeah, hang on a minute, Bruce.
okay, if we go along those lines of thinking, then how do we really want this to look for our community?
Bruce has a comment. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Bruce.
I don't think any of these.
Problem with language. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Profit center means your revenues are greater than your expenses. This is not a profit center. This is a hole that you throw money into.
Mhm.
It's not a profit center.
always
It's
been that.
it's asking for some revenue. The revenue is approximately 30% of the cost in with these new fees based on the old budget. When the new building gets built and expanded, the hole is going to be much, much bigger if the revenues aren't raised, or you don't get a lot more participation at a reasonable rate. So apparently no one thought about that when they asked for all the additional investment by the town. When you look at Sanibel and the other places, our fees, I believe, are still cheap compared to them. Now, they're offering a lot more today, but the goal of Bay Oaks was to up the game to be more competitive, so to speak, with other communities. And they're charging for it. So it's hard for me to understand how you, on one hand, you don't want to pay for it, but on the other hand, you want more stuff. And, that's the problem with the U.S. government right now. it's giving away too much. So that's my opinion. And I want to be clear, this is not a profit center. That's a poor choice of words,
Sorry.
in my opinion. So if the
I
fees are
agree.
competitive with
And actually,
Sanibel,
with
which
regard
other
to
people
profit,
pointed out last meeting that Sanibel is about the same size as us. And I think the fees are a lot less than what Sanibel is, as I recall, but I don't have any information with me today. So, my opinion, let the fees run. And I think you've already chopped down the camp fees significantly. So that should make some people happy.
I don't think it's just about that. And I think part of it, I wasn't here last week and I'm looking at the numbers, fresh since then. I don't agree with the numbers. And I have talked to families as well. I have a family on the island with small kids, and every family that I've talked to said they will not pay these fees. They can't afford them, especially at this point. So the projected income is not a projected income, because you can't say this is how many members we have, and when we raise the rates, then we're going to get this much money. You're not, because you're not going to have as many members. So we're pushing people out. I mean, it to a lot of people that I've spoken to, it doesn't make sense. And I can't explain it,
You may be exactly right about that. And if that's the case, then how can the town afford to put millions and millions of dollars more in there and not expect to get any sort of relief in terms of revenue for it?
we have to figure out where the money's going. I mean, is it going straight back into Bay Oaks? Is it going to rejuvenate the beach? Like, where is it going?
Back to
I
Bay
think that
Oaks,
was the
it's not
confusion,
paying
right?
for beach renourishment.
Is that not what was said last week?
No, Roger was pointing out that beach renourishment is going to cost the town $3 million, and the town's only paying $3 million of approximately $22 million for beach renourishment. He was just pointing out there's a lot of cash flow impacts on the town for all the other projects that are going on in the town, and he's just saying, we're either going to have to cut services like at Bay Oaks. You cut the hours, you cut the number of people, you have to do something to match better the cost and the revenue. And at these proposed levels, you're only at 30% approximately cost recovery. And that's called cost recovery, it's not profit.
excuse me, Barbara Hill. And Bruce, you were mentioning that the revenue from the pool, for example, only brings in 30% of the total cost to run the pool. However, with the rec center, it's only 23.5%. So it's actually less than the pool. But that was, so the issue is that this was always perceived as an amenity for our residents and for our families, and that the town never assumed that it was going to be a profit margin, nor was it even going to come close to even providing half of the revenue that's needed to operate this pool. But it is a service that we provide. It's an amenity. It's a quality of life issue, which is why we were talking years ago about, as part of BORCAB, about the idea of looking at that vision as the renaissance of this island to increase the offerings that we currently can't provide because of space issues, and also be able to offer events and programs that we could now do in this new building that we're building. So again, it all had to do with what the community at that time wanted, and that we approved as BORCAB members, and the council approved, and the budget was set. So somewhere along the line, the fees have to be addressed. And obviously, if the fees haven't been substantially increased over the last 10 years, shame on us for not being more mindful of that, for sure. But the fact remains that we're in a very inflationary situation right now. And it affects virtually everything. It affects families, it affects businesses, it affects employees in terms of what now they have to expect for hourly wages, and the employers are having to adjust as a result. So the town really is actually no different. And I think the conundrum that we're facing now is, to what extent do we increase the fees and still have the participation from the community?
I agree. I do think the fees have to be increased at some point because it has, I mean, everything changes. And I do think that, there has to be some sort of change. But like the pool, for example, when you go from $125 for an annual family membership to 500, it's a huge percentage increase. So it's
That's a lot better than it was 500 for an individual.
correct.
Yes.
And I want to
exactly.
tell you, what
Doesn't make it
I did the math.
still good.
I did the math on that because I use the pool. I do the
Right.
pool aerobics, and I have to pay for the pool aerobics class every time I go. If I pay the $250 a year, I don't have to pay that $4 each time I go. So it's not necessarily a wash, but it certainly is still a bargain by comparison. And I would suspect, now again, we're talking about adults, not the families,
Right.
but I don't think that $250 for an annual membership to provide access to that pool year round is a bad deal. I mean, I think we could certainly take issue with regard to what we're having to charge for youth programs, or, any of the other things that are involving children. But I don't have an issue with the annual membership. And again, it's totally in line with what other community pools charge.
Do we think that anybody's going to pay the $1,000 for a non-resident family membership? It seems like an astronomical rate.
Yeah, 1,000 is,
$1,000 for a year is, I mean, I can't imagine anybody coming in to pay that. You can go somewhere else for that price,
Right.
I don't have the statistics in front of me. Maybe somebody can look it up, but there wasn't hardly anybody that bought that last year. I don't think anyhow.
Well, there would be zero now, possibly. I mean, that some of these things, like taking away the monthly memberships and the weekly memberships, I don't think that makes sense either, because even if we have 5 people that are doing a monthly membership, that's still 5 people. If you take the monthly membership away, then they're not going to come at all. They can go somewhere else for a monthly membership.
I thought there was still monthly.
It says removing.
removed.
All of the monthly and the weeklies were removed. It says because not a lot of people were using them, but I feel like even if it's just one person, what does it hurt to keep that option there?
It might be more utilized now with the fee increases.
Right. I've joined, like last year when we didn't have basketball at Bay Oaks, I took my kids to the Y in Bonita to do the basketball for the summer and joined the membership just for the 3 months, just so that we could use it. But it was because we had a monthly option, otherwise I wouldn't have done that at all. So it's still income. It still helped the Y, but I think the option should be there.
Okay, I noticed that our town manager, Roger, has joined us. Would you like to speak to us at this point? We always welcome you.
Well, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, well, I'm really here to listen and maybe answer any questions if you have any. I think, one of the things that you just need to bear in mind, and I was hearing the last comment, is that, if we have a daily rate, obviously we also have a weekly and a monthly rate. So, but, if you want to give a slight discount for someone who signs up in advance for a week or a month, of course, you could discuss that. But I'm here to answer any questions you have, and perhaps just remind you that beyond the operating numbers that might have been shared with you, I think Allison shared some operating numbers. The general fund also contributes, I believe it's $100,000 to Bay Oaks every year and $200,000 to the pool. Or do I have it backwards? I probably could look that up real quick and tell you the answer to that. For capital, renewal, and replacement. So
Who provides that, Roger? I'm
general
sorry.
fund, taxpayers.
General fund. Okay, thank you.
Let me just verify that I don't have it backwards.
I think you just made a very, very big point there, Roger, that goes back to what you were discussing a little bit earlier about it being a revenue generating facility. It certainly is not. If you're lucky, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, a break even would be a miracle.
Miracle.
Yes, yeah,
And
it sure would.
impossible.
It'd be great.
Right, so I did have it backwards. It's Bay Oaks, we contribute annually for renewal and replacement of our capital assets. They are maintaining the property of $210,155, and for the pool, it's $108,550. So that's on top of the operating numbers that Allison shared with you. And I think I said last time we were together, we're kind of we're not locked into a hard split, but we're kind of trying to keep it towards 75-25 in that neighborhood. So that the general taxpayers who may or may not use Bay Oaks in the pool are contributing, 75% of the cost, and the people who use it, pay the other 25%. Nothing hard and fast about that formula. It's not in the textbook. It just seems to have been a traditional split.
Roger, I have a question, and I thank you very much for sharing the general operating budget with regard to the revenue. I noticed that the Lee County interlocal agreement, we had received funding in the amount of $820,000 in last year's budget, well, 2021, I suspect. But there's nothing for this year, nor is it projected for next year.
You talking about landscaping?
No, this is the Lee County interlocal agreement. This is your general operating?
I believe that's for landscaping. And that was a one-time payment.
Oh, that they don't, that they paid the town the
Instead of
800.
doing the landscaping on Cerro Boulevard, they gave us a lump sum payment for the
Oh.
ongoing landscaping and landscape maintenance of
Okay.
$820,000.
So are we receiving any funds from Lee County at all for operating Bay Oaks?
No,
And don't we provide tremendous resources for the Lee County students?
yes.
So what's that disconnect?
Well, Lee County has, Lee County government, not to be confused with the school board,
Right.
has taken the posture that Bay Oaks is a local park. I personally disagree with that, and I'm sure most of you would as well. But they've taken that posture, and because of that, we don't qualify for any Lee County government funding.
Because apparently Lee County provides funding for the Bonita and the Estero community parks, if I'm not mistaken. Is that because they're considered regional? Is that the difference between?
I assume so. I don't really know the basis of those agreements with those entities, but I would assume that's the case. When we've inquired on behalf of Bay Oaks, that's what they've told us.
Is there a way to market it differently?
It's not a market, it's not a marketing issue.
But-
So what Lee County tends to do with their rules is they kind of say that, well, if you're wearing a peach shirt, you're allowed in, and if you're wearing a black shirt, you're not. And they write their rules that way, and with no extenuating circumstances for tourism, and the fact that many of the kids who attend our school or come here from other parts of the county, but they write their own rules, so therefore they write them in the way they want them to be, and we just have to, while we can try to convince them to change their rules, we really haven't been very successful at that.
Do we fund any of Sanibel?
Roger, quick question for you. Do we know what it is that Estero or Bonita Springs are doing to qualify to receive money? What is the criteria that they're meeting for them to receive money from the county that we are not doing, or maybe we can't do?
Well, basically, they have a set of criteria they look at to qualify it as a regional park, and they would have to modify that criteria to give us funding under their standards.
So we don't know what the criteria is.
We do, but I mean, we looked at it 5 years ago when we had that big issue where they came down and they were thinking about taking it back and blah, 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 and they evaluated the whole thing, and they said, doesn't meet our criteria, needs too much maintenance, no thank you.
That was
Now,
4 years ago.
That was
So
4 or
your
5 years
question-
ago.
Your question, Dan, was basically what I was trying to ask.
But maybe with the improvements,
Well,
We might-
we could perhaps revisit it once it's improved, but it's not improved yet.
We're
right,
raising the fees right now. It's, I mean, why can't we do it now? Why-
Well,
know what
we
we're
have,
doing,
we,
it's not
well, if,
effective.
I'm just answering Beth's question. Beth's question was, can we, once we approve it, ask them to reevaluate it? And the answer to that is obviously yes. But the paradigm hasn't shifted yet, so there's nothing for them to reevaluate. And as far as I know, they haven't changed their criteria.
so we need to find out what the criteria. is.
Correct, since it hasn't been looked at in 5 years.
Was that?
Well, the criteria is based on the amenities, and the amenities haven't changed in 5 years.
Was that specifically based on the budget that the school board would have approved, or is that a Lee County?
That's a Lee County,
Federal-
that's a Lee County government issue. With respect to the school board, you may remember they owned probably about 2/3 of that property.
Mhm.
We entered into a very complex
Mhm.
agreement with them and with Lee County government to a lesser extent to get that a property in exchange for certain improvements that we would do. So, and part of that was to provide space for activities for the school kids.
I think the frustration that we all are looking at today is that, we want to maintain a really great program with regard to Bay Oaks for our community, for our visitors. And we also, or at least our BORCAB committee agreed and voted that we want that community center. We want that redevelopment project to happen.
Yes.
The community sees this as maybe a luxury and not a necessity, and there might be a little difference of opinion as to why we feel, and the town in general, and a lot of the community members feel that this is a wonderful thing to provide to the families when a lot of other people can't find the value in it. But to me, it seems that either we raise the millage rate, or we raise the sales tax rate, or we reduce the hours, or we deal with these fees, but the money literally has to come from somewhere.
Well, I think everyone knows I have a tremendous respect for Anita, but the fact that the new facility and the issue you're considering today really have very little or nothing to do with one another. So, if you are inclined not to recommend to adjust the fees, there's a way to deal with that. And Ms. Hill just mentioned a couple of them. But, I don't think any person who is really thinking this through and is perhaps not working from an emotional or political standpoint would not set aside a $7 million building for a $150,000 problem. But that's just the way I think.
One of the issues that I'm personally hearing from the community is that it was told in the beginning that it was like a $5 million project, then it becomes 6 and then 7. And it's actually like, that's just different phases, that it's actually going to be a lot more than that. And that's where all of this is coming in.
Well, no, it was really started as the entrance lot. And, I've told the story before, but I'll tell it one more time here
Okay.
today. Project started as a new entrance into the Bay Oaks. That was the project.
That was a project that the community agreed.
That was the original project. And I came here, I think at one point in time and told the members of this committee that. But I also told them, I said that, we have this problem with the land, or who owns the land. And, we have this problem that the existing facility really has no indoor space, and it's not set up so that you could do two things really concurrently in terms of activities. And that the existing building has aged and has a lot of challenges. And maybe we should begin to explore the potential redevelopment of the Bay Oaks campus and think big. So they did, and we did. And that's the outcome of where we are today. Now, all that being said and done, the building, if it is more than we originally estimated, and it may very well be due to inflation, I think everyone's pretty, here's the stuff on the news about lumber prices and all kinds of construction prices going through the roof. But none of that is being affected by this now. So if you want to have a discussion of whether or not you want to raise the rates, I encourage you to have that discussion, and where it's appropriate or not appropriate to raise the rates. And if you want to have a discussion whether or not to build the community center and unravel our agreement with the school board and unravel the land deal, you could have that discussion too. But they're really not tied to one another.
Okay, so for you, we raise these rates, where exactly is that money going?
It goes directly to help Allison maintain her current level of services.
100%.
100%.
Roger, has there been any projections, and it's just a far-fetched question perhaps, but have there been any projections or models done as to what the new building, should it move forward and be completed, could potentially bring in an additional revenue aside from the fees? Because as it's been discussed, since the beginning of this, as Roger very well stated, that it started as an entrance into Bay Oaks, and we were told to think big, as I sat up there with Barbara and you guys, and we went through this, and that's when Lee had brought up, about the building, and that's when think
He
big
actually
started.
thinks we went too small, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so there was
exactly.
a lot of things that got us to this point, and I don't know, or I haven't heard any discussions yet about what the building and the facility currently can't accommodate, that it could accommodate should it move forward and be finished, what that could generate in revenue that could help offset some of these costs, or at least bring that gap between the 75%, 25%, to bring it closer to a miracle break even, Allison. Has there been anything that has been discussed about what potentially could come from revenue, like we do with parking lots or anything else, or beach accesses?
Well, I think you probably remember, Counselor, that we've had conversations with this committee and CELCAB about this concept of programming and the need to develop programming. If I remember correctly, what this committee said was, we want to stay laser focused on Bay Oaks for the most part because of the fact that we'll have this new building and programming to do. So as that programming evolves, we'll have a better sense of what that potentially could be. Now, we have up to 6 rooms that could be, larger or smaller, but basically at their smallest, if they're subdivided to their smallest category, be 6 rooms for 6 different activities to be going on concurrently. So, whether that's Pilates, yoga, or Taekwondo, or a cooking class, or a lecture, or book reading, or chess club, or bridge, or Mahjong. I mean, I don't know the answers to that yet. But what I will tell you is, in every place that I've built a community center, and I've built probably more than a dozen in my career, the comment 3 to 5 years later was, we should have built bigger. We need more space.
More space.
So that's the best information I can give you. And sure, we'll have some programs that will produce income. We'll try some, I'm sure, that won't produce income, and maybe we'll stop offering them because they don't. We'll try them, and maybe we think it's a great idea, and we'll get a lot of people interested in it, and we'll find out that 2 people show up. We don't know.
Well, I think it's important to get that out there, and I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because it hasn't been discussed at what a new building could offer as far as services that we can't, as we went through this and we talked about it, we talked a lot about Bonita and their amphitheater, for instance, and how they had all kinds of different events there that brought money in for the town and for the community that we currently can't do because we don't have the facility to do it. So I think it's important to keep that in mind as you discuss when you move forward fees and
Right, so Dan,
keep going back to think big,
right, well, Dan,
Agreed,
Dan,
Dan.
back to your just narrow point that you just made. So I think, many of you are on clubs and, whether it's Wanans Lions, Women's Club, Community Foundation. So I think most of you know that the Community Foundation ran a series of concerts at Santini Plaza. And I'm sure many of you may have gone to those. Well, they did that. They paid the band. They had the event. They made money that went to that club, who then used that money and distributed it to different activities throughout the community. But the point is that there's no reason why we couldn't do the same thing and use whatever share of the net proceeds come out of that would be going back towards Bay Oaks. So, that's just one of many things that we can be doing.
Yeah, I mean, what you said about having this is, these are two different paths. Building the building, that has nothing to do with the fees right now.
No,
And I think, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about that too, since Anita's article went out and that type of thing, but that wasn't why I asked to come back. I asked to come back to look at these fees because, we haven't raised them in 11 years, I think was the
Right.
comment. We can't raise them all at once to make up for that.
Right.
And I just think we need to really look at each line item and resident and non-resident, family or not, and come up with something that could be realistic, palatable. Yeah, nobody wants to have their fees raised, but it's the percentage of how we raise them that we need to look at.
I agree with that. Look, just an example, the annual pool membership going from 125 to 500, obviously it's a huge percentage increase. The pool's not changing. We're not offering anything different. So
Mhm.
I agree going line by line and
Mhm.
figuring this out.
Another option, I believe, would be offering them the ability to pay monthly on it.
We have to have.
Even if
monthly.
they sign up
Yeah.
for an annual, because that's $42 a month based upon the $500 annual fee, which in some people's minds might sound a little easier to digest than
And
than
some
a,
people might only want a month, or they might only want the summer.
Right,
That would have to be a different
obviously
fee.
you can work through those numbers. And again, I want to be clear that, if it winds up being 2476, the world will not come off its axis. Okay, it's just that when we looked at our budget and we looked at these recurring operational expenses that Allison has, and we had given her some money, and I think on the add-on list last year, if I remember correctly, to try to address some of these things, which again came from property taxes. It just, a spotlight just said it just got focused on, the fees at that point. So it's not that, we said, okay, well, great, let's buy everyone new shirts at Bay Oaks and let's raise the fees to do it. This is it's just gotten to that point. And because it's hard, and I recognize it's hard, and we don't want to impact people if we don't have to. And so, we had that natural procrastination not to try to raise the fees if we didn't have to, but we've just gotten to the point where something's got to give.
what if we propose a graduated year-over-year increase? What if we propose going up to X next year, a little bit more the following year, a little bit more the following year to get to where you want to be? At least then it's known that this is coming and this is what we're proposing and this is where we want to be in a couple of years.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I just want you to understand the backside of that, of that approach. The backside of that approach is that currently in the budget, we're, assuming the fees somehow get adjusted, we're proposing to set aside a $500,000 for the furnishings and equipment for the new building, and to bring the new building staff on in the last quarter of the fiscal year to get them on board, trained, and ready to go, start that process once the building opens, and then obviously thereafter. So whatever you adjust the fees less than that $150,000 number, that's where we would go to make up the difference. So just to be aware of that.
So the issue with that though, and you weren't in here when I mentioned it earlier, is whatever the proposed income is not actually going to happen, because every family that I talked to said they're not going to pay these fees. It's such a huge increase. You're actually going to lose members. You're not going to be able to take the current members you have and multiply that by the new rate. We're going to lose a lot of people if we hike them this much at one time.
Well, I'm not, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do a graduated model and you shouldn't ease into it. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. I'm just saying to you that if you leave here today and you all agree on some graduated model, and based on that model, we don't hit our objective of 150,000, which is fine, is absolutely fine. What that will do, I want to be honest and straightforward with you, means that whatever we're short, that's where we'd be looking. The other alternative would be to cut programming, which I wouldn't want to do. So the other alternative would be to slow down the hiring for the new building and/or cut back on the FF&E in fiscal year 23. That would be the result of that. Nothing wrong with that. Again, the world will not fall off its axis. But I don't want you to do that and then say, well, I still expect this staff to be hired in the last quarter of the fiscal year, and I still expect to have $500,000 for FF&E. We would adjust those numbers accordingly. So let's just say you adjust your fees and it only raises $75,000. We would then reduce those other items accordingly to generate the other $75,000 rather than cutting back on the programming.
Well, in my opinion, I think that's the only way we're going to keep people, is to do it gradually, and then we figure everything else out, like y'all were saying, if we have to adjust hours or whatever it is. It's the only way to not lose
So
people.
what you're saying is perfectly workable if you all can reach agreement on what those numbers should be. And obviously, council will review it when it hits their desk, and they'll decide whether they agree with you that that's the best approach. But I think there's nothing wrong with your approach. And I think, the reason we have these committees is so that, because the committee members are the people who are close to, have their constituents, friends, live in the community, whatever, and that's how we get that feedback. So if that's what your feedback is, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying it's right. You need to consider that as you make your recommendations.
And as Roger says, whatever it is that we recommend to council can certainly be taken into account, but the council will ultimately decide.
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, I think the
And-
general tendency is to try to be supportive of the committees. wherever
Right,
they can.
exactly. So, yeah.
Okay.
Of the fees that have been increased, was it straight across the board that everyone was against all of the free fee increases, or were there specific ones like the annual family and the annual individual were primarily the bone of contention issues? I just want to be able to kind of condense the conversation as to which
Right.
ones we need to talk about today.
What I was hearing was the family memberships, because that's just who I was speaking with. But
Is that-
also just the idea that it should be weekly and monthly options. We need to talk about that too, I think. But I was, going from $125 a year for the pool to 500 knocks a lot of people out.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought the
Increase.
pool, I think whatever you do for Bay Oaks, for the people who beyond the just, sort of use the gym part, but whatever you do there for, that package of activities, the pool should be about the same amount of money. Whatever, I would think that there should be sort of the Bay Oaks package, campus package, the pool package, and then maybe a discounted, combination package.
So you're saying like if the annual membership for the gym is 200, then the pool should be 200? No, I
It would
do
make
agree with
sense to
that.
me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me as well.
Something we could work with.
Right.
And then again, you might consider a even deeper discount if someone gets both. We even had talked about at one point if someone did both and
Yeah, there-
joined the
that was
Mount
in
House.
Yeah, 20% off is what it says.
But you all can work through those numbers unless you have any other questions for me. That you get down to that.
I just have one quick one
I
for you, Roger. I've talked to several people that use a different, use Hammerhead Gym versus going to the gym at Bay Oaks. And it's because of the equipment. Have we reached out or talked to any gym equipment manufacturers about partnering with us to get their newer, updated equipment, even if it's a used equipment from a newer gym facility like a Planet Fitness or something like that, to maybe get some newer equipment in there that is more state of the art than what we potentially have? I know we worked with I don't remember the name off the top of them, for the entrance into Bay Oaks for the fitness center trail thing that's there to alleviate some of that cost. Is there anything that we've done to reach out to companies or manufacturers to try to do an interlocal, for lack of a better word, with them?
We're actually doing that right now. as capital improvement.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We're doing that right now as part of our capital improvement for the equipment for the weight room. So that's built into the capital improvement fund. So we're actually doing that now to be able to replace some of the equipment. We cannot afford to replace it all at once. But yes, we're doing that actually right now.
Okay, thanks.
So,
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes to back, brings back sort of to this somewhat of this concept of a split. So we're paying for the four walls, the roof, the air conditioning, water fountains, bathrooms, and all of that. But people who use the gym are paying for the equipment and the replacement of the equipment through that 25%-ish number. Okay, then, well, I'll leave you to your work. I know it's not easy. And there's no right answer, so, just do the best you can do it and make it as, as fair and equitable. And, again, we don't want to price anybody out, as Becky was saying. And we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you for your input.
Okay, anytime.
Okay. It looks as if Karen has been moving some numbers around or
Just
or looking
circling
at
things
something,
that I
and
wanna
she's the
look
one
at.
that has received most of the comments on this. And so can we start with say the pool and
Mhm.
kind of go through?
Well, if we talk, as we just talked about, if we do one thing with the pool, should we have it the same for the rec center?
Everything.
Right, across the board. So, I'm just looking at the pool. So the resident annual membership for the pool was $60
Mhm.
and we went up to $250.
Right.
I mean, even at a 30% in, 3 times increase, I should say, not 30%, but 3 times increase, that's $180.
One thing Barbara was saying that it does now include like the water aerobics and things like that. So
Mhm.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume that a lot of people who'd use the water aerobics are using it as an individual membership.
Right.
Families probably
And
aren't
how
using
much
water
is the
aerobics
water
as much.
aerobics? When you-
$4.
$4 a class. And if
don't
you
need a
go,
membership for that. So they just
Mhm.
exchange the actual class rate for an annual membership instead.
Is it a once a week thing? How often?
3 times a week.
3 times a
Okay.
week, so yeah.
So $12 a week times
Yeah.
52 weeks a year, if they went every week.
And then also, if you have a pool membership, you, instead of paying for actual classes like the aquatics class, there are also these open lap swimming
Mhm.
classes, and those fees were also $3 or $4 a day, and those are also being removed. So you're basically exchanging those daily rates for an annual membership.
Is it removing it to make it free, or is it removing the option to have open lap?
It's removing the fees and just
they don't
providing.
pay the
So
dates,
for
they don't
example,
pay
if I buy an annual membership, I don't have to pay for any of that for the whole year.
Okay, this makes it look like it's just removing it, because further down the line, it changed something to free. It didn't say
All these
removing.
proposed, when it says remove, that's no longer going to be a charge.
Exactly.
So Becky, it's this one here where it says pool swimming lessons free, and that would be the lap swimming.
Okay, but like,
They're not
for
removing-
example.
They're not removing the program, they're just removing the daily fees.
Okay, so to clarify, the day pass, at the top it says the proposed fee for a resident would be 7. And then for a child 13 months, well, it says 2 and under is free, so it doesn't count. But anyway, say 2 to 12 years old, it says removing. Are those kids 7 or are those kids free?
They're the day rate. There's only
They're 7.
one
So removing does not automatically mean free. That's what I'm saying.
board
It's,
have recommended is to remove and only have one rate for everybody, and 2 and under are free.
so, okay, so removing does not mean free. It's confusing on here. Sometimes it's free and some, the open lap would be free, not
Let's
removed.
Let's just say that was gone. Just pretend that doesn't exist. So the day pass is $7 for a resident, 10 for a non, and if you're under 2, you're free.
Exactly.
So just ignore those other,
Right,
in the
here on
proposal.
open lap, it also says removing. That's what I'm saying.
removing the fee, if you're a member.
It also says removing at the top. It doesn't, it should say 7 for kids. Okay, so if we're gonna go line by line, I think kids should be a different price as an
I'll
adult.
put free by
personally.
there. I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't say removing for part of it and remove the fee and then remove it. If children are 7, then don't say removing, say they're 7 at the top. But I personally feel like a child under 12 should be a cheaper price than anybody 13 and up. That's my opinion. Usually when you go places, that's the case. You don't pay the same price for a 3-year-old that you do for a 30-year-old. You know, they're using different things inside the pool. They're doing different things. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so what do you want that as? Let's get to some numbers. What do you want that as? So let's go line by line item, and then you all need to vote on what the number is so we can record that. So what do you want the day pass to be? You want to keep the child and the infant? What would you like the resident and non-resident day pass to be?
I think 2 and under free makes sense.
Okay, and then
That's
what
where,
about,
I mean, a lot of times you go places, that's what it is. you
what
know,
about 13 to 12-year-olds? What do you want for that one?
2 to 12-year-olds?
13 months to, yeah.
Well, 2 and under would be
Mhm.
free, so that's 24
Mhm.
months. I mean, you can't do $4. If we're doing 7 for an adult, do 4 for a child. Is 7 what we're doing for a day pass for an adult? 6?
That was what was
the
proposed. It was
proposed
4 and
one.
7.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we removed that.
That's what I'm asking y'all now. No, for a resident.
So would it be 7 and 4?
If it's gonna be 7, I think 7 and 4. Yeah. That's my opinion.
And then non-resident, just keep it at 10 or 10 and 7? I mean, if you want to keep the ratios the same?
Ten and, yeah, anywhere between 5 and 7. I don't know. I think
I mean,
10.
I don't
10 is
have
a lot.
problem charging more for non-residents
Correct.
than I
No,
do for residents.
I
So,
do agree.
I mean, I would say even do a day pass at 5, 5 and 3 for residents, and 10 and 8 for non-residents. Because I mean, if this is supposed to be a community,
Right.
Yes.
No, I definitely think we should charge less for residents in that case. And if you have to
Right.
increase for non, then I agree with that. 5 and 3 sounds good.
so if we did residents 5 and children
2
2 to 12, 3, and then did, 10 and you can do 10 and 7 or 10 and 8 or whatever you want to do for non-residents. Infants coming with a mom anyway, so,
Yeah.
and anyone under 2 is coming with mom or dad or someone. So
Exactly.
that's kind of a non-issue.
I don't really have an opinion on the child non-resident rate. I mean, 7, 8. I don't know.
I personally don't have a problem with the day pass remaining 7 to 10 for the proposed That still is very reasonable, it would seem to me, for a day pass. With a $7 resident fee and a non-resident 10.
At 10.
That just seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, I can't see lowering that to the 5 and 2. I'd rather see us stay the 7 and 10.
I mean, I can certainly understand the issue of the annual memberships
And the
as a
6
point of
months and that kind of
contention,
The
but
annual will
as
be
far as
the-
that daily pool rate, that's a very reasonable charge.
Mm,
And it's not like we're doubling it.
I still like the 5, so.
Well, but I think most people, like residents.
They
if
have
you look
annual
at that, they're
memberships or
gonna
6
have an
months. They do.
annual, or they're gonna have a 6-month, or they're gonna just do it for the summer,
Right.
do the monthly one, so.
Most of the daily people are probably going to be non-residents that come
Right.
in. Yeah.
There are people that come all the way from Bonita and
Yeah.
from Fort Myers to come to use that pool,
Right.
that take that class. It's remarkable to me, how far people come.
Mhm.
For the aerobics?
Yes, it's
Okay.
amazing.
Aerobics. And, yeah, okay, so I don't have a problem, I guess, with the day, but let's really delve into the annual, the 6-month, the monthly, and even how they are paid.
Before you move on, let's decide on what that is so I get it crystal clear on that day pass. Somebody needs to repeat exactly what it is, if you don't mind. So the day pass for, and that'll be for adults, is going to remain 7 and 10, correct?
Yes.
And then you want to open up
Yes.
But I think we want to add a child
the child,
rate in there too,
24 months to
correct?
12. Uh-huh. And what do you want that to be?
As a resident,
And a non-resident, yes, I'm asking what that fee is so I can record it and then send this back out to you all.
4 and 7, 4 for resident, 7 for non-resident. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, right now, it's 5.
5 for
2
non-resident.
and 5, right.
Right.
So it's 2 and 5. And so what do you want to make it?
4 and 7. 4 for residents, 7 for non-resident, for children 13 to 12. 13 months to 12.
No, it's 24
It's
months
too
actually,
much.
because 2 and under are free.
12.
So it should
Yeah,
be
no.
24 months.
Oh, okay.
24 months to 12 years, 4 and 7.
they have like a parent and 2 kids come in, it's $15. That's
Mm-hmm.
reasonable for the day, I think.
Yep, I do too.
Okay, so repeat those 2.
So day pass, children 2 and under are free, resident 7, non-resident 10,
Right.
child 24 months, 12 years, 4 for resident and 7 for non-resident.
Thank you.
And then we just take out the infant and the senior.
Mhm.
Okay, so the annual 6-month monthly, these are where they really hiked.
Allison, real quick before, just, it's going to pertain to all of it as we go. Maybe when you update these, if you can just eliminate the ones that are
I
being
will.
removed, that,
I will.
for clarity.
I sure will, Dan. No problem.
Yeah, I do agree that the aerobics and all, the water aerobics should be included in an annual
So
membership.
just maybe put
for-
included instead of free.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, that would be,
Well,
If it's
if you
included in
pay
the
for a
membership.
day pass, is the water aerobics included?
Sorry?
If you pay for a day pass as a, say, a resident, would the water aerobics be included?
No,
No.
Just like pickleball.
no, because that's, all the classes are
add-on.
run by,
Right, so, okay, so when we get to that, we have to
Right. But
clarify
But
that
this is
further.
just for members though. So if we say it's
So-
included for
Yeah.
a member,
Right, so I think, so pool
resident,
memberships
thank you.
include all classes
right.
and lap swimming, right? So
And
that would
lesson,
be
yeah.
under the whole heading.
It doesn't currently now, Karen.
Right.
So, depending on what you all feel comfortable with, people who want to do an add-on, that's why we do that. We do day passes for people who only want to afford so much. That's how membership works. You have different levels for people who want all-inclusive, and you have different levels for people who just want to come in and take the class, who don't want to be members. So it just depends. And I like a lot of options because I think that's a menu for people to be able to pick and choose the thing that they feel like it has good value, and that they have a choice in what their services are going to be.
Again, Allison, I guess for clarity, maybe next to pool memberships, in parentheses, you could add classes not included.
Yes, yes.
So it
Oh,
makes it a little
Mhm.
easier for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
right.
So then if you're not including the classes,
Well, that's for you to decide,
I know,
Karen.
I know,
Yeah.
but I do like that option because you
Mhm.
do have people that just want to come and do the class
Right.
and they don't want a whole membership.
And that I want to reiterate, for combining some of the memberships, it was because they have never been used. And so the weekly, I mean, those are just not used. So you all can make whatever you'd like. Just the variety of the menu that we had was not something that anybody was really picking for. So, yeah. So, but you can bring back certain ones if you'd like to.
I like those. I
So-
think especially now if we're gonna, with the new Bay Oaks building, we're gonna be bringing hopefully new people in. I mean, it
Gives
could
them an
change.
option, yeah. It
Yeah,
could
the
very
monthly
well
weekly would be a
change.
good option.
So you can bring those back if you'd like to.
Yeah, so I know that you laid it out for us and unfortunately I didn't bring that first round of sheets, but even for the weekly non-resident, it wasn't being used.
I have it.
I was thinking for vacations and, people
Yeah,
that
it
come for
wasn't.
vacations
Weekly
and things.
individual was 15 for residents and 20 for non.
But I think a lot of that is lack of knowledge. People don't know we are here.
I agree. So we
and
start
that's-
marketing more and people are on vacation and people want to use a
Exactly.
pool. They don't always have one.
Especially to the hotels that maybe, there's got to be some that don't have pools.
Right, we should be marketing to property management firms too and things when they have rental homes that don't have pools and put that information in their packets.
Yes, I say we keep the monthly, but we need to figure out the annuals first.
So
So you have a family on the island. When you first looked at this, what kind of sticker shock or what have you heard?
That they're not going to pay the $500. I wouldn't pay $500 to use the pool.
What would you pay?
Two. Maybe 250, not 500 is just, it's especially now, like everybody's struggling. They're just not going to use the pool.
Well, 250 in essence would be doubling.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mhm.
I can't see us going above 250.
Well, it wouldn't be doubling, it would be,
It's 125
Well, from
right now.
125 to 250.
From what it was
would
last
be
year.
doubling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
wait, I'm
125.
seeing non-resident
No,
annual
from,
individual.
yeah, from the family for a resident is currently 125, it would
I was
go
on the
to
individual.
250.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And not the 500.
And maybe raise the non-resident up a little bit more than double. If that's where you want
So
to
if
go.
annual family was 150,
It was 125 for a resident.
that was,
It was
yeah, I was looking at
125
resident.
originally.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was looking at, okay, so
Yeah.
for resident, 125, if you made it 250,
Right.
and then
The
bring the
non-resident?
non-resident
That could be
annual, that could be,
750.
yeah. So, I mean, I am all for charging non-residents a lot more. Because they're the visitors.
You bet.
In worst case, they'll just pay the day pass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, for the pool, the non-residents are the ones, and the rec center are the ones who use our facilities the most for now.
Especially if they're going to include classes and things like that. Now,
No,
What-
we're not going to include classes.
we're
though.
not going to do that.
No.
So what exactly did we decide? Like a resident is in the zip code on the island?
Just on Fort Myers Beach,
Myers
which
Beach,
is
yes.
the
Yeah.
island, it's our
Island.
zip.
Right.
It's
Well, the zip code
not-
goes
it's
across
not
the
our
bridge,
zip code,
too.
it's just the
Yeah.
town. The
From-
town of Fort Myers Beach is only the Estero Island.
Bridge to bridge.
Not St. Carlos Island. Okay. 'Cause there's a lot
Not-
of people on
not-
St.
not
Carlos
zip
Island that
code.
come over
But they
and-
don't pay taxes for the town of Fort Myers.
Exactly.
Okay.
They can't vote, lots of.
Yeah.
They are, yeah, they are non-resident.
They do, I think they do pay the library and something else that we share, but that's not our taxing district.
Library and fire,
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the town. They don't pay the town.
right.
But the library goes further than our town.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So for the annual family, the 125 to 250,
Yeah, I would suggest 250 and then for non-residents, 750.
750, right?
So right now we have 83 families that are non-residents that hold membership at the pool.
How many
And
do
what do
we
we
have
have
residents?
resident?
30 families compared to 83. 83 is non-resident. So you want to increase from you want to go
What
up
if we take 'em to
$600?
I was.
What if we
also
take 'em
thinking
to
500.
What if
I
we
mean,
take them to 500
You
and
can
then at
do it
least
to
maybe we'll still
750
keep 'em?
next year.
Yeah, going from 150 to 750 is like
Yep.
astronomical.
So if we basically double, oh, we would be more than doubling it, but
Yeah, it would be
125 to 250 is doubling it for
Right.
resident.
It'd be
So it would be
300.
300, from 150 to 300 for the non-resident. Which
Right.
doesn't seem to be feasible.
And you know, there is a thought process too, that if people are non-residents, but they have a second home here, they obviously have money to pay for a pool. Or their own pool or what, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, yeah, you bet.
Allison, do you have data as to the residents and non-resident families that, how many times per month they use the pool?
I don't have that with me, Dan, no.
I'm just looking at the simple numbers, assume as average family is 4, even say 5.
Mhm.
And if they only use a pool once a month, why would they want to buy a membership for $500 when they could, just the numbers,
Day pass.
right?
Do a day one.
Right. I mean, I know that there's families in San Carlos Island that their kids go to the beach school. It's right there. I mean, it counts, so I just,
But it's how the tax base is.
no, I agree. As
Divided.
far as a non-resident, that they're gonna be non-residents, I get that, but I can't imagine that they're gonna pay 750 when they were paying 150. It's just such a huge jump. Or do we know like where those 83 people, like, are they just around the county usually, or are they out of state?
I don't have their detailed membership information.
Well, what about, okay, I'm just throwing this out
Yeah.
there. Annual family, if we double it to 250,
Mhm.
and if we would triple it to 450 for non-resident. Right now, it's sitting at 150 for family.
I think that makes more sense.
I would go to 5,
500, just to make it
just make it even
round,
5.
Yeah.
round numbers.
Because what we're doing is actually cutting both of those figures in half, from 500 to 250 and from 1,000 to,
But the figures were
500.
Yeah.
made up though. Like, we want to take what our current rate is and do like percentage increases, right?
I mean, $500 for 4 or 5 people in one household is not an
Annually, that's-
extraordinary amount.
Yeah.
If you've got the husband and wife and 3 kids as sort
Right.
of the
Yep, I agree.
parameter, that is not an unreasonable amount.
No, and that's the family. I mean,
And
that,
again,
all of
because
them.
Lee County
You
does
bet.
not support this, if the taxes of Lee County do not support our Bay Oaks because it's local and not regional, then the individual has to pay. If the individual non-resident is going to balk, they have to go to the county and fix it.
Yeah.
okay,
Help us lobby.
we're willing to have them go there.
Yeah, we
Right.
need to get changed. I agree.
You
Let
bet.
them use their county pools.
If I could offer a suggestion, perhaps to make it easier than trying to pick numbers out of the air, if you could come up with a
Percentage?
percentage
Right.
across the board, maybe to do that step-up thing that you were referring to, that could potentially work. This year, it's going to be this much percentage. It'd be much easier for people to understand than to maybe follow along with
I agree.
back and forth, because I'm not going to lie, I'm confused as to where we're at and what numbers what.
It's like you're saying, it's literally just, we're grabbing numbers. I agree.
Well, I mean, if we just
Okay.
went through the board and, if we just went through the board and doubled it,
Doubled what last year was.
doubled
And then
what,
added some other other columns.
and then added fees. It, you know, the fees would stay the same, or we could hike the fees by $1, you know, for individual classes. Um, so instead of having, you know, like aerobics being 4, maybe it's $5 a day, or, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
But
We're
then,
not gonna include that 250
That was
for.
going to be included in the membership.
no, we said
not.
class is not included this last time, or when we were just
No,
talking
the
about
day
it.
pass that wasn't included, but the annual individual membership, which we've assumed was going to be 100 or $250, does include classes, which is why it's being removed. It then now says free under proposed for residents.
Right, but I think it gives more options. What I'm saying is if we don't include the classes and don't hike it as much as what's written on there is the suggestions, so maybe the annual individual goes to 120, and it still does not include classes. And even if you want to keep the classes the same, because it's individuals who are choosing to use that, but not all individuals are going to go to the classes. So if you stay with that suggestion of Dan's of, you know, if we had come across with a straight percentage of everything, if we double everything, so then so just looking at the annual individual, the resident then becomes 120 instead of the suggested 250.
Right.
The non-resident becomes 300, or I'm sorry, becomes 150 instead of 500. And if you did that across the board, and then you kind of project where the next year it's going to go as well, that these are going to be, you know, looked at annually and adjusted so that people know what to expect.
So Karen, in that, for that thought, do you think $15 more is reasonable for how it was?
I think that our day.
Because
pass
it
rates-
used to be 60 and 75. Do you think the $15 was enough to raise the non-resident?
you
And
can
when you're
do-
doubling, it's still going to be only $30 more than a non-resident if
Can
you
you
do that?
double resident and then bring the non-resident up like 1.5.
Because then that means there's only a $50 difference
Correct.
between a resident and a non-resident. If you double that, how the fees are currently, because it's only $15
I
more
see what you're saying, yeah.
for that. So just be mindful of,
Mhm.
That doesn't
um,
make sense.
of that. So I've got 120 if you want to double it, but then you only want your non-resident individual to be 150, or would you like that to be slightly different?
Like instead of doubling, like
What's 3 times?
you would have 75 times 2.5 instead of doubling it.
So 175
So
instead
it'd be
of
like
150.
180, it's 187.5, but
Yeah, I
What if
just
you
have to go,
do-
I have to go back to the annual membership for the pool. I find, because I don't belong as an actual member, as an individual to a pool, I just go for the classes and it's $4 a pop. It is to my advantage to have an annual membership, even at 250. It ends up being a bargain for me. And then I feel that, you know, the town is getting its appropriate fee for my membership. So instead of my just doing the passes, I would be more inclined, as I'm sure others would, to just join as an annual member and not have to come with the $4 or the day
Right,
pass
right.
or any, you know, for a whole
Exactly.
year.
Yep.
That's far more convenient. I'm just looking
Yeah,
at this
convenience.
as a user to say, you know, the annual membership, even at 250, would be a far better arrangement all the way around.
So maybe we do 2 levels. Maybe
Yeah.
do just a pool pass or a pool pass with classes. A pool membership.
or you
with
can say
classes.
it's
Well,
like-
that's what it
or it
is now,
includes
but
certain-
yeah, I mean, so then you
but-
would just do then you could just do,
No,
Two
you do
price
like
points.
120 for an annual membership or like 200 including classes. Like 120 wouldn't include classes, but 200 would. Like you can have 2 price points. Or
Mhm.
you can say the 120 includes 6 classes a month. I mean, if you want to.
How many classes do you go to a year, hypothetically?
gosh, maybe twice a week, year round.
Okay.
So then, so 8 times
Yeah.
52.
You bet.
sometimes
Four
3.
hundred and
So,
sixteen.
and not only that, but most of the months, they have 2 classes.
Mhm.
So I'll sometimes go for a 2-hour class. So there's a 9 o'clock class and a 10 o'clock class. So that could ostensibly be 6 classes a week that I could then take advantage of, which then is a super big bargain.
So I like the idea of doing like two different points though, like have one membership price if you don't include classes and one if you do. That still makes a lot of sense for people who take the classes. It's still a bargain for our residents who are taking the classes. Like if you do 120 without classes and 200 with classes.
I guess the question maybe for Allison is how many people have an annual membership who don't take classes?
Yeah, I don't know. So for the pool,
Mm-hmm.
we only have 6 individual members right now. 6.
6.
We have 37 individuals non-resident. So
Really?
unfortunately, we don't have a way to track that particular,
Right.
So let me ask
categories.
this, so the $4 that you pay for the classes,
Mhm.
how much of that goes to the instructor?
the pool, we have staff. We do not
Oh,
have a
there's staff on it.
70-30
Okay, so
split.
it's not like the aerobics classes and
correct.
things where,
Exactly.
Right.
okay.
Correct, Karen, yeah.
So
They're in-house.
then that's, even if you only go twice a week, that's $400 that you're paying in the $4 a day, roughly $420. So, I mean, that's even a bigger bargain than what we're giving, than what we're doing right now. So,
If I could interject a little bit, and
Yes.
it's difficult sometimes. There's one thing I've learned to try to figure out what you should do based on what ifs, and what if they don't use this, or what if they do that. I think if you can focus on what the goal is, and that's not cutting any programming, hopefully, the ultimate goal will be not cutting programming, getting the stuff inside the building that's going to be needed should it move forward. If you could start with that number and work backwards and figure out how do you get to that? And if the building isn't going to be open, if it moves forward for 2 years, how do you step that up with these increases to get to that versus trying to figure out how many times I'm going to use the pool, or how many times, Barbara, you're going to go swimming, or how many times you're, instead of trying to figure it out, try to get, the staff has done a very good job, I think, of giving you what is going to be needed in the perfect world of what we would need to facilitate everything for that new building, and maybe starting at that number and working backwards to get to there in 2 years when the building is built, if it's built. How do you adjust that evenly so that people are aware that this is where it's going for, this is how the money's being spent, and this is what we need to make it so that everybody can get hopefully what they're looking for? Just a suggestion.
but even at those rates, Dan, when we looked at what the operating budgets are and that type of thing, I mean, even with the proposed increases, the pool, even before we're looking at these again, the pool was only 30%, the pool was 30% of the total cost to run the pool. And the rec center was 23.5%, even with our increases.
Right.
So I think the other thing we really need to decide too is, what is our philosophy of what are we going to, if we're not looking at cost recovery, then what percentage are we looking at? And I think Roger mentioned trying to keep a 75-25% split. So if you look at that, we're basically there with the increases that we have, but the increases were just so much out of the gate. Is there a way, and I know we have annual budgets, is there a way to look at this over the next 2 years, every 6 months?
The fees can always be brought to council at different times that you want to change them.
Mhm.
It is because it's part of the budgetary process though.
Right.
So I would have to check to
So
see
it would only be once a year then.
what the alternatives are, but I can check on that and see if it could be revisited after 6 months. The only thing is it impacts budget mid-year and the projections are done, so everybody kind of knows where everything is going to be as much as they can for the whole fiscal. So I don't know how that would affect that part. I can definitely check.
You're doing it for the village rate. That's why you have the budgets and the expected revenues, just so that the town council can set their millage rate.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well, to amend the budget makes it difficult when we're actually asking for an annual membership, which
Right.
obviously is our fiscal year.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
work.
that complicates issues.
Doesn't work.
Well, are we pretty much in agreement then on the annual individual
I don't think we.
be 120 to 300?
Yeah, but I don't think we can include classes with that.
If it's
If you
120.
don't include classes, do you want to lower the rate? That's the $4. If you don't want to do that,
Can we include one that has classes? Does that not make sense?
Can we offer another tier of the membership?
Like,
Mhm.
would you
That
use that,
says-
Barbara? If it was 120 without classes, or if it was like 200 with classes, would you do
No,
it?
Be ahead of the game.
I still
Yeah.
like the idea of 250 annual membership, and that gives me all of my classes for the year. That just seems reasonable.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, have a separate one that includes all classes, but then a lower priced one that doesn't include any classes for the people that
What
aren't.
would be the advantage to the town to do that, though? I mean,
For the individual, I'm thinking of, not the town.
oh, the individual.
It's the
Correct.
individual.
So it's the individual benefit. If they're not taking classes, they should pay less if they're just using the pool itself.
So if it's just
Right.
individual, then have it at 120 without classes.
Yes,
Or
And 250
with.
with classes.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
exactly.
I think it should be different price points.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it should too.
Okay, so so they wouldn't get for the one, what did you say, 150, 120?
120 without classes, and then you could always have a separate, well, that's, okay.
Okay, so without, for the 120,
With no
they can't take
classes.
the classes. They can't take swimming lessons
Correct.
and,
But there has to be an option they could pay individually if they wanted to. Like, maybe they want to take
Mhm.
one
and they
class a
can't
month.
take any of the first aid or any of that.
it's getting very complex.
It
Right.
is.
Our
Yeah.
staff. I'm just telling you from an
It is.
operational point, to be able to, I would have to look into that because, we really want to make this seamless and to keep up with members and the level. And then if they're gonna pay a member price for
Mhm.
those who don't have that, right? And the higher level is free. And then you have the same for the residents.
Mhm.
I mean, the non-residents. So it'd be 4 instead of 2, it'll be 4 different levels now. Is that where you all are going for this?
Well, that would be-
Like, 120,
we didn't talk about
250, so you're adding in
non-residents
a whole nother tier for classes or no classes, correct? So there'd be 4 levels for the individuals, correct? Because you'd have no classes, individual resident, with classes, individual resident, and the same for the non-resident?
And you could do that only as an annual. You don't do that for 6 month, monthly, any of that.
Except for you lose a lot of revenue that way.
You do. You lose revenue
mean,
because
yeah.
revenue is made up in the classes.
Right.
It's an
Exactly.
add-on.
It's an add-on.
Mhm.
So revenue is
Spending
made up in the
$400 in classes, they're going to now pay $250.
So 250, you're going to lose on that by including it in there. So if you just kept it at residents at 120
Mhm.
plus classes,
That's the one thing that's decreasing, right? Everything else we're increasing except for the class aspect. If it's
Well,
included.
that's.
yeah, we could keep the class prices
That's what
the
I'm saying. If it's
same.
included,
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
decreases price.
But if we drop the annual membership prices, then then they're no longer included because you've dropped those.
Correct. You make it 120 with no classes, that's what
Mhm.
you're saying, right?
Yeah, 120 with no classes.
And then 250 with classes included.
Well,
Well,
No,
we just-
or not.
No, I would skip that. I would just keep charging for the classes.
What she's saying, you have somebody who's spending $400 in classes, now they're going to spend $250. So all
Right.
these rates are increasing except that's a decrease.
Right.
I-
If
And
it's
just-
increasing across the
Losing.
board, so I say don't include classes in any of these new rates and keep the base affordable.
Yeah.
Keep the base affordable, correct.
Exactly.
And then you have choices if you want to go to classes. So in that case, it would be the annual individual pool would go from 60 to 120
Right?
that we talked about. And it would go from 75,
I think that should go up 2.5% instead of just,
so 500.
oh, it would be.
70, well, no, 75,
it'd be like
150.
190 or something, 180 something, I don't know.
I
No.
have a thought. What if we do 2 times on residents and 3 times on non-residents?
I was going to go there. Yep.
Because that's still 225
Yeah.
versus,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're paying a substantial amount more than a resident, or at least a decent amount more.
And it's a solid increase. Okay. You can
And it's
look
a,
at
and it's
it.
and it's an easy number to know.
Yeah.
2 times, 3 times.
So
Yep.
am I hearing that you would charge $120 a year that's mandatory for an annual membership, but in addition to that, it's actually $4 still per class?
For classes.
We haven't gotten back to the classes yet.
So classes are not included in these prices.
Right, and so, like, say, for example, now you don't have to have any membership. All you have to do is pay the $4 each class. No
Well, you
membership.
could still do that. I mean,
No, you can't, because that would, you need, I think the membership is mandatory if you're going to participate in the pool.
Well, we're not there yet.
Is
I
that
haven't decided that yet.
Yeah, we're still up on the membership fees, right?
by removing the free? Is
By
that-
removing the membership,
by removing the free part of the
right, no,
aerobics classes,
but that's,
Right?
that now you still have to pay for it. So are you okay with the premise that those people just continue to pay the fee for the class and not have a membership like they've been doing?
I think what Barbara's trying to say is they currently have to have a membership at $60
Yeah.
and pay the $4.
actually, no,
No, they
I don't
don't.
have to pay a membership.
No, see, that's.
I am not a member, I just pay the $4.
You just.
So then
come
what
and go and pay
happens,
for
like,
it.
for the water aerobics right now, you pay the $4, then you don't pay the daily fee or anything. There's no daily fee.
That,
Right.
that's not the way this reads
How
to
do
me.
you, correct. So how do you stop the people from daily aerobics from staying all day and using the pool?
Yeah, that's not how
I
it reads
think
to me
that,
now
yeah,
you say that.
they have that monitored well, actually. Because you know, for the class, you come and you go, and that's it.
So then you would be a non-member, so you would be paying the higher fee.
No, there's no, this is incorrect. Here where it says
a
member, no,
non-member?
it's
Yeah.
not correct.
Or it should be resident, non-resident then.
Yeah.
So you pay 4, do you pay 3? Because you're a resident. You pay 3.
It says
No,
4
I
and
pay
6 right
4.
now.
Well, it says current. It
No,
says
that's
3.
open
Oh,
lab.
that's open lab. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
4 and
Aqua aerobics is
6.
4 and 6. Okay.
Are we, can,
Let's go back
yeah,
up.
we haven't gone over, like, are we skipping stuff and just,
No, we're
'Cause I have-
talking
I have to
about,
leave
do
in
you
a few
need
minutes.
do you need an annual or some kind of other kind of membership in order to go to the classes? Because right now you don't. Right now you can walk in, you can pay by class and do the aerobics.
Same as you would at the Bay Oaks Rec Campus.
Right.
So for
Right.
example, the annual membership, there is no fee currently for a resident. And you just pay
Exactly.
for the
They're
individual
generating more money
classes.
from that.
Correct.
I think that we should keep that because it sounds to me like we're generating more revenue from that
Then
individual
we are a
class
membership.
than we are memberships.
Well, apparently we're not, because obviously that's the reason for these increases. We're not, with the current situation, we're not able to recoup any revenue for
No,
our
no, no,
expenses.
I'm saying from you personally.
Yeah.
Right.
You're paying more
Exactly.
than somebody who has an annual membership would be paying. I mean,
If we
currently.
do this, if we
Yeah.
do this, right,
Exactly.
right, yeah.
So, okay, so if we kept. So if we kept the fees for the classes the same, but we said you must be a resident and change this on the Bay Oaks as well, you must be a resident of, or you must be a member of the pool in order to participate in classes. So then what does that look like? As a resident right now, it's $60, but you don't have
Right.
to be
Mhm.
a member. If
Now
we
we're
said,
charging
no,
the
now you
full
have to be a
100.
member in order to enjoy these classes, what would that membership fee look like as an individual? It's 60 now, is, you know, is it 100? Is it still 60? Is it, you know, because you're saying you have to be tied in, you have to be a member to use these classes
Mhm.
and still pay for the
And
classes.
that would still be at the rec center too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
across
could
the
no
board.
longer go in and
For
have
both.
a free.
Say that again, Bruce?
Pay a day fee plus the class fee if you're not a member.
Yeah, yeah, I think you have to be something.
So would it be a day fee of,
The $7 or $10 plus the $4 or
Right.
$6 per
Mhm.
class.
That's what's confusing to me, because it sounds like you come in and take the class, but you don't have to, like, it's,
Well,
Usually
and at
it's
the rec center, it's, you know, if you're not a member and you go in for pickleball, you pay a fee. And if you are not a member, or then you pay a day pass and you pay the fee.
right,
So
you
we
have to
could
have a
just
pass
make
to get
both.
in. That's what I'm confused
We
about.
could make it the same for both facilities.
Yeah.
That would make more sense. If they pay the day fee plus the
A
class,
day
no
pass
offense.
plus,
Yeah.
if they're
Then it
not a
might make more
member.
sense for you to be a member.
Mhm.
Right,
Right.
Because
exactly.
then you're not paying the $7 plus the $4.
right, so the
Yep.
day, if we kept the day fee at 7 for a resident plus the $4, you're paying $11 a
$11.
day. And if you're going, just say 2 times a week, so 22 times 50, just say 50. So that takes, 22 times 50 is 1,100? That's not right. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
22 times 50 equals 1,100.
Yeah.
So then paying that original 250 was
It's a
quite the
deal.
deal.
A deal,
Yeah.
that's what I,
Quite the deal.
that's
Yeah.
what I was looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite the deal.
Exactly.
Well, I'm a fan of options, and
Right.
it seems to be presenting different options for each individual as to how they want to enjoy Bay Oaks.
Right, which
you
I
know.
think is important because everybody has different needs.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we go 120 on the annual individual membership, and
Right.
225 on the non-resident and individual,
'Cause
then
that's-
what do we want to go 60 and or do we want to do a little bit higher on the 6 month or do you want to just leave it at half of it?
Usually you do a little bit more on the 6 month because it benefit to do an annual.
Right.
Otherwise, why would you do an annual?
Right. So if you did 75,
75
75 on 6 months,
and 150 or so?
yeah. And 150.
And then if we go annual family, if
I
we
think
take
we
that
need
to-
monthly, though. I think we need monthly options.
hold on, let's go these first real quick.
Yeah,
If we do annual family at 250 and then double it,
Triple,
or tripling what it is now,
450.
so that would put us at the
450.
450. And then maybe 150 and 300 for the 6 month on the family?
150, yeah, because 150 is twice, yeah, 300.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've doubled individual and family for residents, so it makes sense to do the same for non-residents.
Mhm. And do we want to, as far as the individual monthly, what if we, I mean, what if we leave that the same? Because we really don't want a lot of individuals
No,
monthly.
no.
But if we leave it 40, then yeah, obviously that's going to encourage them maybe to do the annual rather than the monthly.
Right.
And 60?
And 80? No, not 80. That's
Becky, you
Maybe.
said 60.
I said 60. I mean, 55 is a weird number to me. I like nice round numbers, I don't know.
Why don't we do 60 and 75? Because that used to be the,
but this is monthly.
I know, monthly individual. Oh,
But if we're only but if we're going 120 for a year, they pay that 40 in 3 months, so it might encourage them just to pay the annual rather than a
Right.
than a monthly.
Right.
So recap what what you all want the monthly to be, because I'm hearing a lot of different things here.
I don't, if you have the monthly at, even at 40, but you have 6 months at 75?
No, there's probably not going to be residents that do monthly, but just have the option there. I mean, and, I mean,
Or
it's
do you
all
want to drop the
speculation.
monthly? I mean,
Well,
Well, I think
decrease
you
Yeah.
have
30
people
and
that
Well,
come
60.
for,
we
I think
did-
you have people that come for a month.
Especially non-resident. Non-resident monthly rate is very important, I feel like. People come and rent houses for a month all the time.
So you want to do 40 and 60 for the monthly? What's the resident, non-resident for the monthly? What would you like to do for those? Because it's at 40, 55 now.
Right.
Becky says the 55 is weird. She wants to do it at 60. There's nothing wrong with that, Becky.
I like 40 and 60.
Right, but
Nothing
if
wrong
we've
with
got the
that.
40 now,
Maybe 30 and 60.
we're talking about 60?
No, then we're dropping it.
Yeah, I mean, I like
We don't
40
want
and
to drop
60.
anything.
Yeah.
What if we could just kept monthly individual the same, 40 and 55? Or
Becky, you
40
okay with
and
that?
60?
I would be okay with it. I just
You'd
voiced
be
my
okay.
opinion.
Okay. So you want to keep it
Would
the
you pay
same?
that?
Keep it the same, everybody, for that one? 40 and 55, keep the monthly the same.
I'm okay with
Mhm.
that, if that's what Karen wants, yes.
So leave those.
And then let's recap the annual family.
250 and then 450.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
And then 150 and 300 for the 6-month.
150, okay, yes, got it. Okay. And then,
And then what about monthly? We don't have a monthly family, or unless we just leave it the same.
Well,
Leave
we've
it the same as
doubled,
well.
from individual to family, we've doubled it, so. I
Well, no,
mean,
we left the monthly the same on,
No, an individual 6-month is 75, individual family is 150. So if if we keep them double, like it costs you twice as much to do a full family than an individual. So like a monthly family would be 80 in that case, because an individual is 40, right? Just double it?
and then 110 for the non-resident monthly
Monthly family.
family, if you're doubling it
6-month
there, Becky.
family.
That's what it looks like to me.
yeah, that's what it would be if we do that, if we double.
Mhm.
Double it,
Mhm.
okay. So we're not removing that.
So Allison, did you say 110 for a resident, non-resident family for a month?
Yes, that's what they're looking at. It would be
80 and
80
110.
and 110, so 80 for
Okay.
the resident, and
Okay, so let's just think about this. So what's an average family? 2.5 people, or what, rounded up to 3? That's at 3, that's $25 a daily fee, right? So the monthly is barely 4 days, 5 days worth of fees. I mean, that doesn't seem right to me.
That's how the family memberships work. I mean, I can get a family membership at IMAG for $125.
That's not enough then.
The point is, this is for the people that may be only here a month.
Exactly, so just let them pay a daily fee. I
Agreed.
mean,
Yeah.
you're giving them a bargain.
Just
Yeah,
keep it
The
yeah.
idea
simple.
is to try
Yeah,
to raise some
I like
revenue.
that.
We're giving it away,
Okay.
me, my opinion.
I don't like the idea of a monthly membership at all. It just is an administrative nightmare.
Yep.
A day pass would make much more sense.
I
Mhm.
think you're
You all
right.
agree with that?
I mean, my opinion is to have it, but that's just one opinion.
So,
So
But
should
if
we
we-
take
if we-
out the monthly individual, you're saying, and just
Right.
have a day pass for across the board for monthly?
Absolutely. It's just easier for
Yeah.
them to
Exactly.
manage, I would
Yeah,
think.
I can do, yeah, I can go with that.
and
Yep.
I think that that was more important when the fees were going up as much as they were before.
I see that.
So maybe it's not as big of a deal
Yeah, no, I
if
can
the
see that.
annual is more affordable for the family.
Like I said, it's just my opinion. It's just one opinion. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
But then we are also keeping the individual classes and having fees on those, correct?
Well, that's what, so the next line is
Correct.
open lap swimming. So now what happens to that?
Now they have to pay again.
Well, it says remove. So is it free?
No,
Is
no,
it
no, no.
included?
We're,
Is it
we're
added?
amending this.
We're changing it though.
Correct.
Yeah.
All of
So-
this is changeable, Becky. So don't
Yes.
pay
Yeah,
attention
so
to
I
this.
think it should be it should remain either remain the same at $3 and $4 a day, or maybe do $3 and $5 a day for non-resident.
Okay,
I like the idea of 3 and 5 because you did that down on the aerobics classes. It was a
Right.
$2 difference.
right,
So make it even.
okay.
So 3 and 5,
And then we'll keep the 4 and 6.
and keep
Right.
the
For 4 and 6?
For the aerobics.
Okay.
For the aerobics. So we're,
Mhm,
and I agree
mhm.
with moving
Right.
removing all the corporate memberships.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't
Right.
think we have those.
I
anymore
agree with
right
that
now.
also, yes.
Now,
So,
on the swimming lessons, is our staff doing the swimming lessons?
Yes.
Okay. And do we want to let the members' kids still get the free lessons? So that we're keeping the kids safe?
Well, right now it does say if you're a member that you're free.
But in the past, it
Right.
wasn't.
Right. But
Do you have any idea how much they paid?
let me see.
Is this the thing on, that they do on Fridays? Or is it lessons that are
'Cause
like
years
throughout the
ago,
week?
Kiwanis used to participate and help fund it
Yes.
for the
yeah,
kids.
They did.
Jeff should be listening.
Because I've got to go. I have,
Okay, I put a text out. We'll see if Jeff can tell us how much the swim lessons are right now.
You know, the problem is, I don't know what other places do, but if you start giving free lessons, you're liable to have people coming from all over, and
No.
then you're gonna not have enough lifeguards to give lessons. And
that's just for the members,
no.
just
not
for our
for
resident
resident
members.
members or non-resident?
Residents.
Resident members,
Well,
not for the non-resident members and not for the GP.
I feel like it should be something minimal. I feel like, I mean, we're charging for aerobics classes, we're charging for all these other
$2?
things. It should be something minimal.
$2?
What are the swimming lessons entailing? Like, is it a 6-week program? Is it once a week that they do this for 3 months? Like, what exactly happens with swimming lessons?
I don't have that information, Becky. I'll have to.
Okay, I think that matters for the cost of it.
Mhm.
I'll find that out. Nobody's answering the text. And I just.
Okay.
And then I have to go, I have another meeting, but are we looking then, when we go down to the Bay Oaks, of mirroring then the fees for the pool in Bay Oaks?
For the gym.
Or for the gym?
That's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there a consensus to not raise any of the club fees or the summer camp or the day camp, anything?
I personally do not see how $75 a week per child in the summer camp covers your cost.
It's $1.87 an hour right now, but you said that no families wanted to have any kind of increase.
No, no family wants to pay $500 for a pool fee. Like, an increase is expected.
Oh, okay.
That type of increase is not. I mean,
Is-
$75, like, I mean, personally,
Yeah.
my kids were there over the summer. You took them to Sunsplash, you took them to Mountain House, $75 is not gonna cut that.
So we had it as a $25 increase. So it would go from 75 to 100 to 100 and 150. Well, and for non-resident, it was a $50 increase. 100 to 125 and 135 to 175.
Where is that? I know I saw it.
Where is
It's
that?
on the,
It's on the back.
Yeah, it's on the last page.
Oh, in the back here.
Just Beth, before you go, because you have a family, if, and Bruce, I know you didn't think that was high enough because you told me.
I mean, other camps are $200 a month.
Except for,
Yes.
except for
know?
Lee County was still lower
Yeah,
this
but
year.
they have a lot more, remember, their
They do have
tax
other,
base
right,
is
right.
more
So
than
I don't think it should be
7,000
200. I'm
people.
saying, like, there's other things, but
So,
I'm okay with these increases for this year, and then you could look to change them again for.
so an increase of $25 is okay?
On the programs.
For the
Right, for
programs?
the
I think so.
kids
Yeah,
programs.
yes.
There's
Yeah.
scholarship available. Please remember, no child will be, if the
Right.
parents cannot afford it, all they have to do is
Right.
put in through scholarship money. And that was stated at the last meeting. That still is. We have wonderful organizations that continue to contribute to our scholarship funds. I just wanted Beth to look at that real quick before
That's
she left.
really important to
Yes.
make public.
To talk about
absolutely.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we need to make public.
Yeah.
You
No, I
bet.
mean, I think the camps are amazing here. I think we have excellent potential, and I think people would pay for
So
that.
that part is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was just the percentage of the increase for everything
I
else that was the issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Beth. I know you
Thank
have to
you.
go.
I have another meeting, excuse
It's
me.
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So as far as the swimming lessons go, I think it matters for what's entailed with the lesson. And I
Okay,
think it
let's see what
should
Jeff
be
said.
something minimal, even for residents. or
Yeah, it says
members or-
currently Kiwanis sponsors those swim lessons.
Okay,
It's $160 per session, eight sessions. So that is, so there you go. So it
so
looks like
Kiwanis is paying for all the kids to,
it says currently Kiwanis picks up the tab for that one.
Okay.
Jeff, tell me if I'm right, because I know that you're listening. But right now
160 per session, you said?
it's,
150.
Kiwanis pays half.
but it's, the session is like the 6 weeks or whatever it is, not.
So it sounds like it's $20 per session. $20.
That would be 120 if it's 6 weeks.
Sounds like it's probably $10 a session if they pay half.
Is
Yeah.
Kiwanis going to continue to do that?
They have never turned us down, and we have just gotten a donation for new life vests for them, so we have additional money, and I can't imagine us ever approaching them if they would say no.
Okay.
So how many weeks is it, you said? I'm sorry.
Okay, so the swim lessons are 8 sessions,
8 sessions, okay,
and right now, Kiwanis pays half.
okay.
So the participants only pay $10 a session, so they only pay $80 instead of the 160.
Okay. I don't think it should be free.
Okay.
I don't either.
So do you want to keep it the same? Do you want to offer a discount for members? What would you like to do since this is,
Well, nothing else is getting a discount for members. They're paying fees
mhm.
in addition, so I don't think we should start
Okay,
there.
okay.
It was different for resident versus non-resident though.
Right, and
Lessons
that's-
are not, right?
And that, I don't mind having it different between resident and non-resident,
Yeah.
but we haven't charged
I agree.
anything different for, members. We've kept our daily fees or our fees, even whether you join the pool or not join the pool.
Consistent.
Right. So if it's,
And it's the same thing as the water aerobics, right? Like if you're not a member of the pool, then you pay the day rate for the swimming lesson?
I don't think so. Not the way it is currently.
Not the way it is currently. Okay.
and I think we should put a note on there on the side, no matter what we decide, it's subsidized by Kiwanis 50%.
Mhm.
So that people know that they're not paying the whole fee no matter what.
Agreed, yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
I mean, somebody's got to pay it. So,
Do you really want to put that in there would be my question about the Kiwanis? I mean,
No.
you don't have an agreement with them saying
No, we
that they
don't.
for sure will do it every year. I'd hate
no,
for.
you can
people
also
to-
put a note, this year it's paid by Kiwanis, half of it or something, like just like an acknowledgement or something, you know?
And
does it
once
matter?
the Friends of Bay Oaks becomes resurrected, we can actually have that as part of the fundraising strategy,
mhm,
that Kiwanis provides support for
mhm.
the pool
Just
programs.
to recognize them.
And there may be others that want to do that.
Exactly. So
You know.
that opens it up for other,
They want to get
Um,
on that bandwagon.
exactly.
There's only one fee. Right now, it's not broken down between anything. So if you all want to do that, it's fine. So yeah, there's no day pass needed. It's just for the
Mhm.
program. And
So-
if they choose to stay for the day, there'll be a day pass. But like Barbara said, they're very good about, the programs
Right.
are, with the instructor. So it's up to you all.
What does the 100% cost of recovery mean exactly? That's,
It pays
It just
the
covers the
$80.
cost of expenses 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just
There
break
is no
even.
loss of,
okay. So right now, we're at,
You break even.
It's 160 a kid, basically. So every kid is paying 80
right now because
right now. So if we make it free, then we're losing $80 on each kid. We have to pay it somehow. That's resident and non-resident.
so if we took it to 15, 15 a session times 8. God, phone, quit going off. So that's 120, so that takes it to 240. If we increase the classes by 15, or by $5 a session,
For resident or non-resident?
I would say keep it the same for resident and keep, and raise it to 15 per session,
I agree with that.
but to non-resident. But really, we're really talking $20 a session, right? So then we'd be raising it to 30 for non-residents. And then the Kiwanis at this point has subsidized half.
Okay.
So if we keep it the same for residents, but raise it to 30 per session for non-residents. And then at this point, we have the 50% subsidy.
Okay.
And then what about the CPR, first aid? Who provides that?
We have in-house certification staff that provides that. And part of that is the certificate fee for them to get a certificate.
And is this a range, 65 to 120? What,
Depends on what certification that they get. I can't be any more specific on that.
okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, and I think the 75 to 175 as a range is, I mean, I think that's realistic. The only thing, do we want to charge differently for a non-resident?
Mhm.
I would think so, yes.
So if we want 75 to 175 and then maybe 100 to 200
Okay. For the non, okay,
for the
Mhm.
non-resident?
okay.
And then the late pickup programs. I mean, I think this is a steal because I remember in the 80s, it was $10 every 15 minutes that you were late. Because, I mean, the whole idea is don't be late, people. You know, pick up your kids on time. Be considerate of other people. And I don't know if it's an issue. I mean, have you found it to be an issue where people are,
It just depends, but currently it's
traffic?
not. I think it just depends, but for now, I haven't heard it be an issue. It's just like you said, an incentive to make sure that everybody is picked up, but we're very open. If you want to keep it the same or increase it, it's up to you all to make that recommendation.
I mean, I think $5 is not an incentive to be on time. I think $20 is an incentive to
You
be on
bet.
time. But that, again, we're back at the huge increase. So I would be fine with doubling it and just doing 10.
Okay, so 10.
I mean, if it's not a true issue, I mean, if you're really trying to deter this, that's one thing. But if you haven't found it to be a great issue, then maybe just have them roll back to the 80s. It's $10.
Okay.
Where are we? I'm sorry.
So we're, the late pickup, we're, they just recommended to just do it to 10 instead of 20 for $15, 15-minute increments. And I'm checking with Jeff to see, every
A lot of
semester is
places-
different, so.
A lot of places do $1 a minute too. It's just
Well.
different if you're 5 minutes late versus 15,
Oh, do you want to change it to per minute?
I'm just saying that's what a lot of places, that's what our school does, that's what. Because if somebody's 2 minutes late versus 15
$2
minutes late,
instead of, yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
What do y'all think about that?
I don't know. I personally would keep it at,
15.
the 15-minute mark. Otherwise, no, I was only 5 minutes late. I wasn't 7 minutes late. I can just
Yeah.
see somebody having to get into that
Well,
with
that's what
somebody.
there has to be a clock
Right.
they go by. There's a digital clock that's whatever the clock says.
So 20, from 5 to 20. Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
Uh,
we're
no,
saying 5
from-
to 10.
From
Yeah.
5
Oh,
to
5 to 10, okay.
It says,
And I can maybe, if we want to raise non-residents differently, if we want to
Okay.
have 10 for residents and,
well, no, this is for kiddos, so you have to know that. a
yeah,
lot
let's
of
keep it,
our-
I don't know, I just keep.
A lot of
this
our
then.
club rec and our summer campers,
Right.
the majority are non-residents.
Right.
I would keep it at 10, and if we're really not having the issues, then,
Says, yeah, Jeff says that really not really, that usually once they're charged, they're usually not late
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so are you all okay with the 10?
Mhm.
Okay, and is there, I think that's pretty good with the pool. And what about the rec center?
Do we need the back of the pool or no? The party package thing?
Those,
This is to be determined anyway.
yeah, we're really trying to streamline those based on
Yeah.
the fees that we currently have.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on the pool?
Not from me.
So if you're done with the pool, what do you think your projection of revenue would be now versus what it was versus the cost?
I would have to do that and send that out to you all. I don't have my spreadsheet.
And that's assuming we keep everybody.
Right.
You don't even know.
It's just a guess.
Right.
Well, Bruce, and you could do, let's see, there was something that was put out, so if you, it'd take me a minute to look at that, but we could do a percentage, because you all, it would be probably half. It looks like it's about half of what you all had originally proposed.
We
give or
doubled what's
take.
currently.
So you all cut it pretty much in half.
And that's why I bring it up, because that's maybe 15% recovery versus the goal of 25.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's,
So we're graduating it though, like next year is increase
yeah,
from there.
I mean, it's 15%, but we haven't raised anything in 11 years. So the goal is 25. We're not going to get there overnight.
No.
So if we look at the same, okay, if we look at the same kind of fee structure for Bay Oaks as we did for the pool. So we're looking at day passes, 7 and 10, we have the day pass already. We had proposed 7 and 10.
So we would keep that the same.
Yep, keep that the same. The annual,
Do we split that for the kids also, the 2 to 12-year-olds?
120.
Like make it 4 and 7. There's not a child day pass. Oh, there is. Oh, non-resident 12 and under. It's below. It was removed.
yeah, so we have 7 and 10 for day pass. But that's adults. And then on the pool, we have a child 24 to 12 years, 4 and 7. But do we have here, child day pass? We had 0 and 3 before, and we were removing it. Should we put it back in 2 to 12, 4 and 7?
They're not going to be using the gym. So what, I mean, the kids are coming, they're going to use the basketball courts and things like that, right? What else are they using exactly?
I mean, I
Good
don't know.
question for Allison.
No, I don't know
I don't
either
have a
on that.
child there. I have no idea.
We like basketball courts and, inside things like that, but it definitely should be different than adult. I agree with that. Because they're not coming for the gym. They're not doing any of that. But I think that's an Allison answer.
Yeah, we need Allison here to find out how many. So right now, we didn't have an annual membership for individual, we had made it 100 and 200. On the annual individual pool, we did 120 and 225. But we also had in annual memberships before of 60 and 75. So we're going from 0 to 100. If we keep with our other thought process where we doubled it,
Right.
I think
would it be 50? Or should we keep it the same? No, we don't want to keep it the same. Because we're going from 0.
I wouldn't increase it from the proposed. I mean,
So do you think the proposed is okay, is what I'm saying, for the annual membership individual, 100 and 200?
I think it's more logical. Yeah, I don't think it's, I wouldn't increase it to match the, originally I was thinking it should match the pool, but then you're looking at, now we have these pool fees, they are different.
So, but the pool is going up $60. I know you're saying double, but the pool
Yeah.
is going up $60.
Right, $60.
Uh-huh.
If you look at it
This is
that
going
way.
up 100.
Yeah,
So
Right.
if you
So-
went 60 and,
that's a good point.
so 60. Why
So
don't we
a
do
membership
60 and
at the rec
120?
center?
Could we do 60 and 120? Because 45 times 30% is what, 140?
What is our membership including? Use of basketball courts, use of the gym,
Weight room, all that.
just inside, it's not including, is it including tennis?
It always includes, anybody can use tennis or the outdoors.
Okay,
Outdoors, yeah.
So,
so it's it's just the basketball courts and then weight room?
and also they get, if you're a member, you get, like pickleball is a different cost.
Right.
So there's resident, member, non-resident. There's a little bit different of cost if you're a member, including for the kiddo programs.
That's a good point about the 60 versus $100 though.
These are gone.
So I'm saying if we took it at 60, which is the starting point baseline, and then it was 45, so 45 times 3 is what, basically 120, 130?
Yeah.
So if we did.
120 is double resident.
Yeah, 120 double for the, or 120 for the non-resident, 60 for the resident.
And then for the 6 month, maybe do 40 and 70? Or for 65 or?
Look at that.
40 and,
Doing a little more than half, whatever it is.
or 40 and 75.
Okay.
Okay, annual family. So,
Well, the pool is double from individual to family, so that would put us at 120 if we did that. Also going from 0.
Yeah.
and then it would go 85 to 240?
And that would be double, so 120 and 240.
Yeah.
Is that sounding doable?
And then 80 and 150?
80 and 150, what are you talking about?
For the 6 month membership.
Oh.
And then what about the day pass? Because remember, we want to have.
So that's what we were asking.
Mhm.
The kit for the child, that I am not exactly sure. That's why I needed your opinion. Like for the rec center, the kids are going to come in and use the basketball court. What else can they use inside? Because they're not going to use the gym. So I don't think the day pass for the child should be as much.
Okay.
Is there anything in there besides the basketball court? I feel like I'm missing something that the kids use.
We
Is
have
it
different
inside?
programs for them, but they.
Yeah, just to come in for like an open gym or
Yeah,
whatever,
The basketball court usually is the gym floor is the reason. that
or
they
whatever
do
there.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe keep it like we have the pool, like 4 and 7, or is I feel like it should be less than the adult.
Okay. For the children.
Yes,
Right.
for a day pass.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so 7 and 10 and 4 and 7, right?
So the adult day pass would be 7 and 10,
Mhm.
and then 4 and 7 for daily pass, 2 to 12. Well, 2-year-olds,
12 and under.
12 and under, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Is 4.
So 12 and
So right-
under would be 4 and 7.
So right now, it says removing, but we're adding it as 4 as
Yes.
7.
We are.
Okay.
And then do we want to do anything with weekly?
Why does seasonal say 0? Is it supposed to be removing or is that free?
No, we were removing it.
Okay, so the 0 is actually removing.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct, yeah.
gotcha.
And like Dan mentioned, I'll just eliminate these with the next version. if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay.
And as far as the facility rental is concerned, that seems that the proposals are warranted. And of course, that's, a cost that would be taken into account with regard to what facility rentals are elsewhere, so that would be competitive, but that isn't really necessarily a family cost per
Right,
se.
Right, that's a special event.
It's a
cost.
special event,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
And I'm fine with that.
me
Yes.
too.
Oh, that's different. Yes.
Because we
Yes.
Totally
never-
fine with
bet.
that.
We never charge for parking at any of our.
Exactly, that's
no.
the other
Parking
Oh,
is
that's a
free.
big item.
Mhm.
advantage.
You bet.
Can I back up for just a second?
Mm-hmm.
The Fort Myers Beach employees, I was looking at this last night. I feel like there should be some sort of benefit. I mean, if you're gonna work for the town, like maybe have a resident rate. I don't know how many employees we have or how that would impact.
So what would you like to do? The employees have a resident
I
rate?
think they should get the same rate as residents, because usually you get a discount when you work for the company.
If they're considered full-time, actually, I think
Yeah.
They're
that's an
considered full-time,
excellent,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's an excellent incentive because with, inflation the way it is with
Right.
regard to keeping employees,
You
that would
bet.
be a huge benefit
Right, yeah, I think the
for
employee
full-time employees.
Right.
Okay, I'll add that in if you all are in agreement.
Yep, we are.
Okay.
You're gonna retype all this up for me, right?
Absolutely.
Does that
I'll
include,
have it-
does that include council member dues?
For Monday.
I'll have it to you before Monday.
That's
Karen.
more than
You all need
full-time.
to-
Before
you all need to
Monday.
Look it over though, as soon as I send it to you, okay?
Yeah, we
Promise
need
me
to look
you'll
it
do
over
that.
right away and
definitely
Give
do
me
that with any
time to-
changes.
Yeah, I'll have it out to you by the end of today.
Okay.
I
Oh,
promise.
my gosh.
Did we cover everything, Allison?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you all are okay. We discussed the camps and stuff and you all are okay with that. Let's look at the youth fun days. It was 15, it went up to 40. Are you all okay with that?
No.
Okay. Then let's.
I'm
talk
sorry,
about
where
that.
is that again?
That is
Again?
on,
On the
I think
back
it's on
of
the
the rec
middle.
center page.
On the back,
Yeah.
on the back, okay.
I feel like
So-
more than half is a little too much.
all right, so what would
I
be
mean, more than double, sorry.
$5 increase from 15 to
So-
20? You want to leave it the same?
So youth fun days per day,
Or 15
what if we did
now?
20 and 25? Or 20 for
20 and-
residents and 30 for non-residents?
20 and 25,
20 and 30.
20 and 30.
20 and 30.
I mean, the week is 100, so 20 times 5 is 100. Makes sense. I don't know if there's. To me, it makes sense.
Per week.
The youth club certainly seems like it's appropriate in terms of the increase.
Yep, 125 and 175.
Yeah, I'm completely comfortable with that.
And the summer camp per week, I mean, you're basically charging a daily rate for the weekly rate is what you're doing.
Correct.
Right.
You know, it's 20 and 100 and 30 and 150.
Well, that works out really nicely.
It's easier, yeah.
And then keep
Agreed.
the youth club rec, that's only going up per semester, $25 for residents,
40.
40 for non-residents. So per semester, are we 3 semester or 2 semester here?
2.
2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be trimesters, okay. So 2,
And this is not a significant source of income,
okay.
by the way.
It's very helpful to a lot of families, though.
It is. So I'm just letting you know, whatever, it's not a huge.
Mhm.
So currently for per semester, with the resident and non-residents at the rate it is now, it's like $2,240. So just know the impact per household for this. This is not something that will have a huge impact revenue-wise.
I don't think this is something to like price gouge, for lack of a better word. People definitely need it.
Right.
So I love that they have it.
The late pickup, should we change to the same $10?
Yes.
And yeah,
And remember, there's scholarship for both Club Rec and for summer camps, all the summer camps and also the fun days. So we continue to offer that assistance
Mhm.
as needed.
Maybe if Jenny is listening, she can get that information out in a post somewhere. 'Cause
Right.
A lot of people don't know about that.
I'm sure she's listening. I'll make sure of that. Okay, and then pickleball or volleyball is on this one. You want to look at that.
And that's a big,
That's a big one.
pickleball is
Um,
huge.
Yeah.
Big
That
benefit.
certainly is a reasonable, $5 per, absolutely.
Okay, and then $10 for
For
Mhm.
non-resident,
Just wanna make
seems
sure you
very
all are good with
appropriate.
that. Okay, is there anything else that you all would like to discuss or to change or recommend? And I will have this out to you today for sure. And please look at it so I have time to make changes because Karen will go to the council meeting on Monday and report the recommendations to the council. So want to make sure everybody has a chance to look at it and then ask questions or get information from me before they do that.
So I just have a question on the seniors, like for kayaking, biking, out to lunch bunch. It has included in above. Is that included in what above?
So what we did is, let me find that, Karen, we put it in 100% cost recovery.
Okay,
And the one that we're above,
Means that it's-
Okay.
it's
Instead
a
of having it
wash.
all
Whatever our
separate.
costs are,
okay.
gets
Yeah,
that's
reimbursed
fine.
by each
Mhm.
participant.
yeah, we just put it all together instead of having everything separate. Mm-hmm.
And that changes,
Yeah. No,
Just
Depending on
depending
what
on
they
what
have.
the program is. Mm-hmm. And we provide the transportation and put everything together for that program.
I mean, those are all very good deals, actually.
Oh, yes, they sure are.
In fact, if it were left to me, I would do the cost plus a third just administratively to run these programs that help offset your employees' time. Because to run those programs takes town budget, bottom line. So I guess we just do the board member reports so we can move on.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for reconvening on this. I know it's kind of short notice and everything. I just had a pit in my stomach after listening to everyone and taking all the input. And, I do agree that the whole Bay Oaks Center versus the services, it's totally different subjects. So we haven't even broached on that, nor do I want to today. But as far as these fees and the deadline that we were under to get it to council on Monday, thank you so much for coming back and rehashing all this. Very appreciated.
I appreciate you calling us back.
I'd just like to say, as a community service, if you ever need a quality assurance person for these potlucks, let me know.
Or a
Okay.
taster or whatever it may be. Whatever. You're
It's
there.
not too hot or too cold.
Dan is so giving. He's one of my most giving board members.
Okay, I'm going to ask for the board items next.
There's public comment.
Oh, that
Oh,
comes after.
Do we have anything?
I don't have anything extra.
No, I
Okay.
don't have anything either.
I don't either.
Do you, Karen?
No, no,
Karen?
I'm,
Okay, well
Yeah.
then that moves us to item 8, our public.
our
Welcome.
public.
Good morning, John R. King, 8402 Estero Boulevard. Like Karen and Becky, I got feedback on the fee increases. And I think that you've done a reasoned and graduated approach to it. And I think people can grab a hold of that and respect that a lot more. So I wanted to thank you all for your service, what you do on this committee and for the community. Allison, thank you for your leadership. And Dan, thank you for your guidance. Thanks very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for sitting through our meeting. And is there any other public that would like to speak? If not, our next meeting is going to be September 6th. And again, I would like to thank Karen for bringing this meeting to our attention. I'm not at all surprised. And a lot of extra work has gone into that, and certainly appreciate all of your input on that. So if there is nothing else to come before this meeting, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move, Barbara Hill.
Okay, Barbara.
Karen Woodson, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 11:17. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. A lot of work.
Yes.
Well done.
The thing that's different about
Kaya tutok na sa
DJ Josa Love Diaries. DJ Josa Love Diaries.
2 oras na at pinaaga pa. 2 oras na punong-puno ng kwentong buhay pag-ibig, love experiences na mahirap burahin sa ating isipan.
Guess I'm just afraid I'm not the kind who makes it last forever.
DJ Josa Love Diaries.
Mapapakinggan sa Radyo DZME, mapapanood sa DZME Facebook live streaming Lunes hanggang Biyernes dito sa DZME 1530, una sa kanan, ang himpilang may paninindigan.
You can let it go because you're strong.
Ikaw, ako, tayo. Sama-sama together.
Sama-sama together. Ikaw, ako, tayo.
Makipagkwentuhan, makipagkulitan, makisaya sa pinakabagong show na handog ng Star 8 Academy.
Sa Star 8.